like what are the tags we use. Next one is canvas and SVG, and next one is web storage. So this is the agenda of this session. So let me create a new folder, day 3. Let me copy this. So I'm trying to do the same steps which we have done in the earlier sessions also. Just go to any drive and click on git bash here and write down first one clone command. So once you have done, just navigate to the folder. So this is how we will do the first step of git. So now let me open that folder in the editor. So here let me create a new file. So save in the today's folder. Like first one will start with tags. Let me start first one with tags. So as we know, the very first line, doc type HTML, HTML head, title part for tags, head tag, body tag, and HTML close. So this is the basic structure of an HTML. So today we will try to learn about the tags, all the tags left over in this HTML. So first one, let me start with heading tag. Let me start with heading tag. In order to open the output, just open in the browser. Just give a right click and it will try to open in this. First one, heading tag. Heading tag is used to display like titles, subtitles for your web page. If you want to display some titles or subtitles for your web page, we use this heading tags. This tag is used by search engines also in order to index the web pages. In order to index the web pages, we also use this heading tags. So we have 6 heading tags here. For example, I have written something like this: H1. H1 is in the larger heading. H1 is the larger heading size. So we totally have 6 heading tags. H2, which is smaller than this one. H3, H4, H5, and H6. So H1 is a bigger in heading size. The font size for this would be like around 32 pixel. The font size for this heading would be like around 32 pixel. So we'll get in this format. First one is about heading tag. Heading tag is mainly used in order to keep some headings or titles or subtitles in the web page. In order to index your web pages also in Google, we will try to keep this heading tags which plays a prominent role. Next one, we have some tag called P. P indicates a paragraph. As we have discussed in the day 1 session also, P indicates a normal paragraph. So if I want to display some text, we write P tag open and P tag close. In this, I'm just trying to give a lorem here. So automatically I got a text. Next one is PRE. PRE stands for pre-formatted text. PRE stands for pre-formatted text. For example, I want to display some text as it is, with including white spaces. Then I can use PRE. For example, see here, I have typed something like hello UI something. I have typed something like this. So when I'm trying to refresh this, you can see hello UI and Java is displayed as it is. In the sense, it will try to reserve the white spaces. Paragraph will try to display everything in the same line, occupying the web page. Whereas PRE stands for pre-formatted text. It means how we have written. For example, I have written something like this, like hello, and some spaces here. Again for Java, I have given some spaces here. I have given some spaces. So what happens? It will try to display as it is. It will try to display as it is. We call PRE as pre-formatted text. PRE as pre-formatted text. In this tags, we have two set of categories. Like first one is block level element, and next one is inline element. Block and inline. Block and inline. What is the use of block and inline? For example, if I want to display the tags occupying the complete full width of a web page, we call those tags as block level elements. For example, if the tags are trying to display next to each other, like it is trying to display next to each other, and it is not creating a new line, and it is not starting in a new line, then we call those elements as inline elements. Block level elements are those which always takes the complete space and it will try to display in a new line, whereas inline tags are those which will not take a new line but it will try to display within the width. So best example for the block level as well as inline element is div. So yesterday we have done something like this. Div, we have taken a div and we were trying to display like this. Well, I just want to place this in, for example, I have just trying to place this information, complete information in a paragraph. Imperative, I just want to place this paragraph here. I just want to place this in a paragraph. So we can also say like div and paragraph are element, because we write, it will try to occupy the complete line. For example, yesterday like input type text, input type equal to text. Again we have written something like again input type equals to email. We have written we have written two input tags. So whenever I'm trying to write, see here, it is trying to display next to each other. It is trying to display next to each other. So what did I do? I have kept everything in a div tag. So it means it is trying to give us a break. It means it is trying to move in a new line. We can say div as a block level element, div level element, whereas as a inline element. What is the best example for block level as well as inline? We can call div as a element, whereas span as inline element. For example, see here I have written again lorem. I'm just trying to write a lorem here. In between, I'm just trying to write span span, span span. So even if I write span here, check the output of this. See here, it is trying to display within the same line. It means it is not giving us break. At the word $, it is displaying in the same line. For suppose, for the same text, I'm trying to take div here, div. I'm trying to take div. It means it will try to display. See, after dolr, it is trying to display everything in a new line. It is trying to display everything in a new line. So we call span as an inline element, div as a block level element. Span and div. Next one. For example, if I want to give some boldness, HTML, we have a tag called lorem. So when I write hello and strong, it is trying to display something like this. We are in tick color text. So let me paste this on the top of the page. So I'm just trying to write here as strong. It means trying to get some tick color text. Next one, if I want to get the same text in inclined way, we use EM. EM stands for text. EM stands for emphasize. Strong will try to give the thickness for the letters, boldness for the letters, whereas EM will try to give some inclined text. So it will try to display in the format of italic. For suppose I want to highlight some text in the paragraph. Suppose I have some paragraph here. I just want to highlight some text. Then we can use a tag called mark. It works as a in the text. Works as a highlighter in the text. When I use mark tag open and mark tag close, it will try to highlight a piece of text. For suppose for the same text, see here lorem is displayed in this way. If I have kept something like small, if I have mentioned some tag like small. So this will try to display relatively. If we can compare this text format, the font size would be decreased. Mark can be used in order to highlight say particular text, whereas can be used for comments, small comments, or like copy for copyright symbol. There we can use this small. For suppose this is a paragraph. Here it is a paragraph. I just want to use some word called delete. I just want to mention a word called delete, and I just want to delete a particular word. I want to give some other word instead of it. I want to give some other word instead of it. Then we can write something called del. We can use a tag called del. For example, see here I am trying to write for this word del. Del. I have written del like this. So you can see the text has been struck. The text has been deleted here in the line number 1. When I use del, it means the text has been deleted. Now instead of deleted, if I want to replace the text of it, for example, I want to replace the text with this particular word to hello. Then I can use a tag called ins. ins. We can use a tag called ins. So we were discussing with heading tag, paragraph, pre-formatted text, block and block level elements, inline elements. Next one, strong, emphasized, small, mark, delete and insert. Delete and insert. For suppose if I want to give some text in the format of subscript, these are all the tags which I have mentioned in yesterday's assignment. So if you have done that, like you will understand like what we are trying to do. For example, I want to give something like this. I want to give some chemical formula for it. Just want to give some chemical formula like this, H2O. Then I can use something called subscript. So whatever the tag I write here, like whatever the text we write in between this, it will try to get down. We call this one as subscript. For example, I want to have a text. I want to have something to the power of it. For example, I want to have something to the power of it. Then I can write superscript. Then we can write a superscript. This is about subscript and this is about superscript. See, in a particular text, I want to define some abbreviation. Like I want to define some abbreviation of a particular word. Then I can call ABPR. Then we can use a tag called ABPR has an attribute title which will tell the meaning of it. For example, I have written something like ATM. Anytime. So ABPR stands for abbreviation. Title indicates the meaning of this, like the full form of this, and abbreviation tag close. ABPR has an attribute called title, which will try to give us the meaning of it. So when I'm trying to refresh this, when I'm trying to place my cursor over it, it is trying to give anytime money. It is trying to give anytime money here. Anytime money. So it is about abbreviation. Subscript, superscript, and abbreviation. For suppose if I want to display some information, when I click on it, it should be able to give more info about it. I want to give more information, like additional information about a particular thing. Then we can use a tag called details and summary. Details and summary. In this we write first one details tag followed by details tag close. In this detail tag we have summary, like I'm trying to write some text here, and for this I want to elaborate some meaning. So let me write something like this. So details followed by summary, and in that I'm trying to write a paragraph. Details, summary tag and a paragraph. So when I'm trying to refresh this, when I'm trying to click on the spinner, we will try to get the piece of text which we want to show, like the additional information. Details tag open, details tag close, summary tag open, summary tag close, and the info. So if you click on this, it is trying to display the info. it is trying to display the info. So this tag can be used when we want to show the additional information about a particular word or a sentence. Next one is KBD. The use of KBD. See, for example, I have written something like this. I have written some letters M, 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 and I, some letters. So if I want to format some code, see here, if you can see the length of the particular letters, and here the length of the particular letters, it is different, like it is varying, like the size of the letter M and the size of the letter I is different. M is occupying more space when compared to I want to make.
Sir, excuse me. Sir, excuse me. సార్ యూట్యూబ్ యూజర్స్ మాకు స్క్రీన్ క్లియర్ లేదు అంటున్నారు, కొంచెం మ్యాగ్నిఫైర్ యూజ్ చేసి జూమ్ చేయరా?
మ్యాగ్నిఫైర్ స్క్రీన్ కనిపించట్లేదు.
ఓకే, ఇప్పుడు క్లియర్ గా లేదంటున్నారు, కనిపించట్లేదు కదా?
అవునా,
కొంచెం జూమ్ చేయండి.
టెక్స్ట్ ని జూమ్ చేయమంటారా? ఓకేనా?
ఓకే, ఫైన్ సార్.
ఓకే ఓకే, ఈ అవుట్పుట్ కూడా కొద్దిగా జూమ్ చేయను. అయితే ఇప్పుడు కనిపిస్తుందా?
ఓకే సార్, ఫైన్, కంటిన్యూ.
Okay, so for example, I have two things, letter M and letter I. If you can see here, the letter M and letter I is trying to take a different width. So we can use some tag called KBD, code and sample. Here I'm just trying to use only one tag, KBD. So when I'm trying to use this, so it is trying to display the same width. If you can see the width of these letters, it is the same, KBD. So this is about KBD. So these are the basic tags. So once you have been working on the templates or some assignments, you will come to know different tags and the properties. So this is about the basic version, like KBD, details, summary, subscript, superscript, abbreviation, strong, emphasized, small, mark, delete, insert, H1 to H6, heading tags, paragraph, PRA, block level and inline elements, that is div and span. So these are the tags which I have mentioned in the assignment to do, like, so you will get some idea like what we are trying to discuss in the today's session. So this is completely based upon the basics of HTML tags. Now the next part, we have something called, like we have done with the day 1 and day 2, and this is the final day for the HTML. So in this we will try to learn about canvas and web storage. So let me take a new file. So let me erase this code. So first one, let me write about canvas, then we can learn about SVG. See, for example, if you want to draw some shapes, if I want to draw some rectangle, circle or some shapes, then we can use this concept. Like if I want to embed some different shapes on the web page, then we can make use of this canvas tag. This canvas tag cannot be implemented using only HTML. We will try to use the basics of JavaScript. So what I will do is that, what are the concepts which are required, like 2 or more values which are required in order to implement this concept. I will try to explain it so that you will understand. First thing, for example, whatever we are trying to see, for example, if you are trying to open this in the browser, JavaScript will assume the complete browser as a window. So whatever we are trying to write in this user interface, the white space, like, so we call it as a document. So the complete browser we assume it as a window, and the browser white space we call it as a document. For example, if I want to write HTML, we write HTML tag open and HTML tag close. In the similar way, in order to implement JavaScript, we write script tag open and script tag close. We just write script tag open and script tag close. For example, if I want to implement canvas using HTML, we have a tag called canvas tag. So let me write the tag name, canvas tag. So for this canvas tag, we have it is an empty tag. So for this canvas tag, we have three attributes. First one is ID. First one is ID. Next one is height. Next one is width. For this canvas ID, we have three attributes. First one is ID. We need to write a name for it. ID. Next one is width, like the size which we want to display. I'm just trying to write 70 here, and height as 90. So canvas, ID, width and height. In order to implement canvas, we need to make use of JavaScript. So if I want to write JavaScript, we will be writing some tag called script tag open and script tag close. We should always write JavaScript at the end of body tag, after the body tag. For this canvas tag, we have an attributes called ID, width and height. ID, height and width. So in JavaScript, if I want to declare a variable, like in C, C++, like we declare a variable using int, like int and the variable name, the data type and variable name. Here we use a keyword called var, let or constant. In order to declare a variable, we use var, let or constant. So here I'm just trying to write var here. So it means var a. It means we have declared a variable here. Var is a declaration, like we can use var, let or constant depending on the usage. So a is a variable name here. So here I'm just trying to read this element. I just want to read this element. What is this element? Canvas with an ID ABC. So I'm just trying to write where canvas equals to, example, the variable name is canvas here. So as we have discussed, this browser, what we call it as window as well as document. So it will try to display here itself. So I just want to read this element. I just want to read this ID. So in JavaScript, we have something called document dot get element by ID. So we will try to look into more examples of this canvas when we are trying to deal with JavaScript, but we will try to do a small rectangle how we can implement it. So I'm just trying to work on a basic example. So where canvas equals to document, in the sense the complete what we are trying to visualize here. We are trying to read the element. Which element I want to read? I just want to read this element, that is ABC. So here I am trying to read where canvas equals to document.getElement by ID of ABC. Next one. Again I am trying to declare a variable here. So in order to implement this canvas, we have something called getContext method. We have getContext method. First one, as we have discussed, document.getElement by ID will try to read the complete document. Based on the complete document, it will try to read only that element what we have called. Here I have read ABC. So this element will be stored here. So it will try to read this one based upon the ID. Next one. As we have read the element, I just want to put some properties for it. So we have a method here called getContext. It will try to provide all the methods and properties in order to draw a particular canvas. So what I will do, canvas dot, so everything is stored in this canvas. So canvas dot get context of 2D. Get context of 2D. So whatever the shape you are trying to implement, these are the minimum basic steps, like line number 14 and line number 15. These statements will be the common for drawing any representation. Like here we are trying to implement a rectangle, so these two steps will be common for any of the shapes which you want to implement. First one, document.getElement by ID. Next one is getContext. GetContext will have all the methods and properties in order to draw a canvas. Now, first one, we will try to discuss only two methods here, like two properties. First one, everything is stored in C. So C dot fill style. I'm just trying to write fill style here. Just I'm trying to write a color blue. Color blue. It means whatever the shape we get, it will be filled with blue color. Whatever shape we are trying to draw, it will be filled with a blue color. Next one. For example, if I want to draw some rectangle, we have a method, like predefined method called fill rect. We have a method called fill rect. So let me write C dot fill rect. C dot fill rect. So in this we have some values. First one, I'm just trying to write 10, 20, 60, 100. Example, I'm trying to write 10, 20, 60, 100. It means we are trying to specify the values from the left hand side, from the top, width and height. So let me show you the output. So we got something like this. So let me save this file. And we got some shape like this. So for example, I'm trying to use here 10, 20, 60 and 100. Can you see here we got very less width because we have mentioned for this canvas in the browser we have mentioned only 70%, 70 and 90, which is greater than here. So what I will do is that I will just try to increase this. I'm just trying to increase this. So then what happens? This values will able to fit in this canvas. So we got it like this. So if you can see here, for example, if I have mentioned here 100, for example, I have mentioned something like 50 here. Then what happens? It is 50 indicates value from the left hand side. 20 indicates the value from the top hand side. In the sense, x-axis and y-axis. 60 is the width, 100 is the height. 60 is the width and 100 is the height. If you can see here, the get context method will have all the properties in order to draw lines, circles, shapes, boxes and everything. Here we are just trying to implement a basic shape called a canvas. So this is how we can implement a basic canvas using, this is the concept of HTML5 where we can draw some shapes. So here we have done with a basic example of a rectangle. For example, if I want to save this also, we can save, like it is able to download. First one is canvas. Next one, we will try to discuss about SVG. See, this can be implemented using JavaScript, whereas SVG we will try to implement using CSS, basic CSS part. So let me write some shape here. So let me take some shape. So let me write svg.html. So I'm just trying to use for SVG, it will try to take very less code when compared to canvas. Let me try to take this output SVG. So I just want to draw the same shape. What we have done using canvas, I'm trying to implement the same shape for using SVG. So SVG stands for scalable vector graphics. It is also used to draw some shapes. So here we will try to implement a simple rectangle. So this will also have something called SVG tag open and SVG tag close. It can be implemented using CSS. So I'm just trying to SVG tag open and SVG tag close. In this, as we have mentioned the height and width for the canvas, like what is the space we want to have, initially. So here also I'm trying to mention the initial height and width for it. For example, width is equals to some 300 and height is equals to some 400. Width is equals to 300 and height is equals to 400. So in this, let me draw rectangle now. So in order to draw a rectangle, we have RECT followed by the values like x and y. X is equals to some 50, y is equals to some 50, and I want to mention the width of it. Width. Next one, some height. So whatever we are trying to draw, for example, I'm trying to draw this one, like I want to draw some rectangle here. So if I even take the output in this, we get something like this. So if you can see here 50 in the sense from here, the space from here, y, width and height. So but see here, I just want to put some colors for it. Like here we have some fill style and fill rect. Here we have something called rect here. So if I want to put some colors for this, we can just write, let's say inline CSS, like fill and color. I mentioned some color for this. It means instead of black, we will get some color called orange. I just want to get some border for this. I just want to get some border for this. We can write stroke black. If I want to get the stroke width of this, then we can write stroke width. Stroke width. So if you can see here, we got something like this. First one is canvas and next one is the SVG. So SVG stands for scalable vector graphics. If I want to draw SVG, we use SVG tag open, SVG tag close. In this, we will mention some height and width. If I want to draw a particular rectangle, we have a tag called RECT followed by the X and Y coordinates values, like how much the space we want to give. Next one is width and height. Next one is the style properties. So based upon these properties, it will try to get the color. So by default, we will get black. So this is about canvas and SVG. So for example, in canvas, we can save the image, but in SVG, we cannot save this particular image. See, as I have done, when I'm trying to click on it, we can save this particular in the format of PNG. Whereas for the SVG, we cannot do it. Here, canvas can be implemented based upon this X and Y values, like this values. Whereas here it can be implemented using rect followed by the path. Which one we need to prefer? Like, is it canvas or SVG? So whenever we are trying to use a larger objects, then it is better to prefer like canvas. Whenever you are trying to use smaller images, it is better to prefer this SVG. When your objects, whatever you are trying to design, if it is very less, then you can go with SVG, and when it is more, like if you want to get very good performance on the larger objects, then you can go with canvas. First one is about tags, next one is about canvas and SVG, and next one is about web storage. Next one is about web storage. See, for example, what is the use of web storage? What is the use of web storage? For example, I'm trying to search something in the online, like Paytm. Example, I'm trying to browse a website. So whenever I'm trying to search for a product or thing, okay. Whenever I'm trying to browse something, see, I'm trying to click on this. I have clicked on this. See, the price is 12 or something. I have got some product here. Now I will let you know like what is the use of web storage. See, before web storage, we used to store the data in the form of cookies for each and every server request. But web storage is more secure in the sense we can store the data without affecting the website performance. In the sense, for example, see here, when I'm trying to click on this, when I'm trying to click on the browser, inspect, and the application part, we have something in the browser called local storage. Local storage. When I'm trying to click on this, so you can see here the price of this. Like it is web storage will try to store the values in the form of this. Like so, instead of sending a request again and again, like we can make use of this local storage in order to have some data in our browser itself. It will be stored in our browser application in local storage. In order to implement this web storage, we have two mechanisms. First one is a local storage. First one is a local storage, and next one is a session storage. First one is a local storage. First one is a local storage, and next one is session storage. So let me write in web storage. We have two things. First one, a local storage, followed by next one is a session storage. SS indicates session storage. So if I want to implement, so we have seen some website like I have browsed for a product, it is stored in my application in local storage, right? Suppose I want to implement some application where I want to store this data, like I want to create a normal some key and value pairs. Once a user has visited, it should able to store in my in their browser, like in their browser it should able to implement. Then we can make use of this web storage concept. For this we have three methods. In this we have three methods. First one is local storage dot set item. First one is local storage dot in order to set an item. For example, I want to set an item. We have something called local storage dot set item. Next one is get item. In order to retrieve. In order to retrieve, we have something called get item. For suppose if I want to remove it, we have something called remove item. We have something called remove item. For example, I want to clear it. I just want to clear it. We have something called clear method. So these are the methods which we can make use of it. In order to set item, in order to retrieve some item, in order to remove, and in order to delete. In order to delete. So let me write some example. So this can also be implemented using JavaScript. Like we cannot code alone using HTML. So first, let me write some basics of it. See, for example, as we have discussed, we call this one as a variable. We call this one as a variable. For suppose, if I want to display some value of it, like I'm trying to write var a console.log of a. In the sense, we are trying to declare a variable declaration followed by variable name, and I'm trying to display it. So if I'm just trying to open this in the browser, see here, in the console part, it will try to display as undefined. It means the value has been not given. For example, if I'm trying to write 10 here, so we'll get something as output as like what are the value we have stored. First one is if we don't have anything, like if the value is not mentioned. So in JavaScript by default data type, like by default we will get something called undefined. For suppose if I want to compare two numbers, for example, if I want to compare two numbers, like a has some value and b has some value, I want to check whether which one is greater. So we use some condition called if condition, like followed by if, like first if the condition is true it will try to execute, or the else part. So now what we will do is that we will try to write a code where it will try to store the values in this application. Like in this application it should able to store some values. Let me write some snippet, like as we have done for this Paytm. Like when we click on a product, it is able to store. In the same way, when I write some code, it should able to store the values in it, and I should able to retrieve it, and I should able to delete it. We will try to implement the concept of local storage, where it will try to set an item, get an item, remove an item, and clear. So first let me write first one, if condition. So first let me check whether my browser will support or not. So if it supports, it will have this thing, or else the else part. If my browser supports, it will try to insert this values, it will try to have these values in this local storage, or else it will try to display a message saying that the particular value is not there, the browser will not support this. First one, I'm trying to check type of. What is the meaning of type of? Type of will try to see whether, like for example, I'm trying to write here var a, and I'm trying to write type of a here. So it will try to give us number because it is a numerical value. For example, in the 10 I have written something like this, true. So when I write type of a, it means it will try to written as boolean. Type of will tell like what is the value which is stored in a particular variable, like the data type of it. Type of will say what type of data is stored in a particular variable. So here for the web storage, so I'm just trying to write here as type of storage is if it is undefined. For example, if it is undefined, if the type of storage is undefined, First one, I want to insert some values in it. So I'm trying to write local storage dot local storage dot. I just want to have insert these values in this key as well as value. So let me write some website equals to like tutorials.com. Example, tutorials.com. If it supports, we will try to have these values in the browser, or else I want to display some message here. Alert, browser doesn't supports. Browser doesn't supports. Browser doesn't supports. So let me refresh this. So when I'm trying to see here, can you see website is stored here and tutorials is stored here. So this can be done using a local storage. Like this concept can be done. Like I'm trying to create first thing. I have written some if condition where I'm trying to check whether the type of storage is undefined. If it is true, then it will try to have this, or else it will try to display a message as sorry, it doesn't support. It doesn't support. So this is about the first part. Like I'm trying to insert a value. I'm just trying to insert a key and a value. How I have shown for the like Paytm, in the same way I'm trying to implement how to insert a key and value. Here we can say a key as a website and the value as a tutorials.com. Key as a website and the values as a tutorials.com. For suppose I want to retrieve the same thing. I want to retrieve this value. For example, I want to retrieve the value. I just want to retrieve this value. So we can write something called the key value followed by the key value. See here, just you don't need to check this. So let me write local storage. I just want to give some alert box here. I just want to keep some alert box here. I just want to remove the statements. In this script tag, I want to retrieve the value of this web tutorials.com. Then I can write alert. Alert in the sense a pop-up box local storage dot website. So whenever you are trying to perform some like a cart operations or something, then you will understand like where the values has been stored. Local storage dot website. It means when I'm trying to refresh this, when I'm trying to open this, it will automatically retrieve the value of tutorials.com. The value of tutorials.com. The value of tutorials.com. Next one. For example, if I want to delete it. So we have something called remove item or clear. We have something called remove item or clear. Now what we have, we just have something called a value here. See, I just want to show console application local storage website and tutorials.com. Now I just want to delete it. I just want to erase it. Then we can write a particular item, that is a website, or else we can write local storage dot clear. Local storage dot clear. Then what happens? What is the value we have? What are the values we have? It will be erased. What are the values we have? It will be erased. Session storage is something like in web storage we have two things. Like first one we have discussed like local storage, and next one is session storage. Session storage is something like a login and logout. Like once we close the browser tab, like after logout, the data will not be available. Whereas for the local storage, until or unless we erase it, it will be not deleted. So in this first one, web storage is mainly used like a replacement for the cookies. Like it will store more amount of data when compared to cookies. If I want to store the information in the browser in the form of a key and value, then we can use this local storage concept. First one is set item, next one is get item, next one is remove item, and next one is clear. Here I have written some if condition where I am trying to check the type of storage if it is not defined. So then what happens, if it is based upon the true value, it will try to insert, or else false. Next one, we have written something as local storage dot website. It will try to retrieve the particular value, whereas local storage dot clear, it will try to erase the complete values. So you can make a small application, like you can just create a small application where based upon the local storage values, we can create a login form. Based upon the local storage, we can create a small login form also. This can be done like when we will do with JavaScript, we will try to implement. So as of now, for the basics of HTML, we have done in this way, like all the tags, canvas and SVG, web storage, the local storage and session storage. So this is the concepts of HTML, what we have discussed for these 3 days. So like today's assignment would be like based on how to create a resume, like based upon this first session, second and third session. Just try to create a resume, like what you have some resume on the piece of paper, like you have in a Word doc, right? The same thing you put it on a web page using only HTML. You just try to create a third assignment, that is just create a web page of your resume. So now we will try to have the complete 3 days session, like 3 days session, the review, like what we have done, like what we have learned for this 3 days. So let me show you the presentation part. So let us have the revision of the complete HTML. First one, we have started with the intro of HTML, like Git. What is the difference between Git and GitHub? Like in order to provide some hosting space for the Git, we use GitHub, where we can keep our repositories, our projects. We have learned how to create a profile, how to create a repository, what is the use of clone, what is the use of add, commit and push. Next, we have started with introduction part to the HTML, hyperlinks, anchors, images, paths, list, tables and iframes. So once we have started with how a website works, like till now whatever we are trying to do, we are trying to make a website live in the using like a GitHub, like we are trying to generate some URL and we are trying to put it. We can use a domain and hosting, where we can also make a website live. We will try to discuss in further sessions. Next, we have started with HTML. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. The present version is 5. Hypertext indicates a piece of text that is used to navigate from one document to other document. We can say it is a reference from one page to other page. Whereas markup is something like applying the layout or a formatting for the plain text using tags, attributes. The latest version is 5.2, like it is not updated here, like 5.2. We call the first one as opening tag or start tag, next one as closing tag or end tag. First one, if it has a forward slash, then we call it as end tag. There are few tags which doesn't have end tag, like for example input, image. Now we have discussed canvas. So this is the basic structure of HTML. Whatever we write in the title part, it will be displayed in the browser tab. Next one, the very first line in HTML5, it is not a tag. It tells the corresponding document has been written using HTML5. Next one, we have written some title. Next one is meta char set is equals to UTF-8. It is a character encoding mechanism where it will try to have every character set available across the world. UTF stands for Unicode Transformation Format. 8 indicates 8 bits. So earlier we used to have this one, like ISO in earlier versions of HTML. Next one, we have, apart from meta char set is UTF-8, we also have these tags like description, keywords, author and viewport. Description, for example, whatever the thing we are trying to say, the black color text is a description part. The author is a person who has developed, like keywords. So whenever we are trying to have this thing, whatever we write in the title part, it will be displayed in the very first line. We call this one as complete one as element. If we have opening and closing tag, we call it as a tag, but when we have information at, we call it as element. Next one, we have discussed about an attribute. For example, we have a tag here, attribute followed by value and tag close. First one is a tag, attribute and a value here. When the user clicks on this contact us, the page will navigate to the corresponding page called contact.html. Next one we have been using here, it is we have used it is mentioned as Notepad, but we have used Sublime Text as editor. You can use Visual Studio, Eclipse, any of the editor which you are comfortable with, which you have. Next one, we have started with list. There are three kinds of list: ordered, unordered, and description. In ordered list, we have the values in the format of numbers, alphabets, small Roman number, caps Roman number, as well as the lower and upper alpha. Whereas in the bullet, we have disk symbol, circle, and square. For suppose, if I want to display the values from a particular index, then we can write an attribute called start. For example, if I want to display some text in a reverse order, then we can write reversed. Next one is description list. In this we have DL, DT, and DD. DL, DT, and DD. If I want to have some heading and I want to give some info about it, then we can use description list. Most commonly used is OL and UL. Next one, we have learned about characters. Like in our very first day of landing page, we have used only one symbol called copyright. In order to write a copyright symbol, we can write and of copy semicolon. It will try to have that copyright symbol. For example, if I want to display some trademark, TM. Next one, we have started with hyperlinks. If I want to navigate from one page to other page, we can make use of this hyperlinks. In hyperlinks, we have a tag called A. A indicates anchor tag, href, hypertext reference, the followed by URL. Here, we can give two paths. First one is relative path and next one is absolute path. We can call this path, for example, we can call this path as absolute path, where we can call this path as relative path. For example, we have used a path which is in some server, like somewhere else in the internet. Then we call it as absolute path. For example, if we are trying to give a reference of the file which we have in our workspace, then we can call it as a relative path. Suppose if you have somewhere in the nested folders, then you can use these dots. It means it will try to indicate the parent folder. Next one, in order to open a link in new tab, we use target is equals to underscore blank, which will try to open the page in a new tab. If I want to make a link in the format of an email address, like when I'm trying to click on it, it should be able to give some function. Then we can use a keyword called mail to, followed by the email ID. Next one, if I want to navigate within the same page, then we can make use of this hash ID value. Like I'm written here, we can write ID here. So when it is matching with this particular ID, it will try to navigate within the same page. How we can jump when I'm trying to click on the top, it will try to navigate within the same page. Like home, about us, and contact us, we have done in first session. Next one is iframes. We can call is iframe as inline frame. If I want to insert some map, some Google form, like some videos, some PDFs, like we can also use object tag also. Apart from this iframe, it will try to insert it. So it will try to assume the complete page into a separate part. This will be included as a separate part. Like the syntax would be iframes followed by src. Next one, we have started with tables. In these tables, first attribute is like table tag, followed by tr, followed by th. Very first part we call it as th indicates table header. In this first part, we'll get a thick color text only for the header. And the next part, whatever we are trying to write, we call it as tr followed by tr. Inside this tr, we have something called td. Td indicates table data. For example, if I want to give some spaces between the cells, then we use cell spacing. If I want to give the spaces inside the cells, then we can call it as cell padding. First one is a column span and next one is a row span. First one is a col span and next one is a row span. Like first one, it is trying to combine two columns. So we can easily say like a col span is equals to 2. Here row span is equals to 2. Next one, here we have defined a table, but for this table we don't have anything like lines for this, like border for this. We should always use an attribute called table border is equals to 1. It means it will try to display the border for it. For suppose if you have missed some table data, it will automatically give some white space here. In the sense, it will not occupy it. In this, we are trying to use call span as well as row span. The call span for this would be a 3 and the row span for this would be a 2. Next one, we have started with forms. Forms are mainly used for server-side processing. Whatever the user submits, it will be processed by the server. Like if I want to store the values in the database, it will be processed by the server. In this, we have form action, encryption type, method, no validate, and target. Action will specify to which server side it need to pass. Encryption type will have two things. First one is text forward / plain, and next one is multi-part form data. Which one we need to prefer? Like if we have any file uploads or something, then we need to use multi-part form data. But if you have a normal plain text, then you can use encryption type equal to text forward / plain. Next one is method. In this method, we have two things. First one is post and next one is get. Yesterday I have written something wrong, like I haven't mentioned name, so the values were not visible in the URL part. We can use get or post. Whenever we write get, the values will be visible in the URL part. Whenever we write post, the values will not be visible. So post will try to have more amount of data when compared to get. The preferred one is post when compared to get if I want to send some sensitive information. Next one is no validate. For suppose in yesterday we have seen like we were trying to perform some required patterns and all these things. If I don't want the form to be validated by the user, like even if the user enters or if he doesn't enters, it should able to it should not have some validation performed. Then we can write in the first tag itself form no validate. Next one is target. It specifies like where the response to be displayed. Like when I click on it, if I want to open in a new tab or if I want to display some message, successful message, then we can use this form target. Next one, here if we can see here action, it means when I'm trying to write mail to here, it means the what are the form values which we are trying to submit, it will be passed to this particular email ID. Example, if I have written something like this, but if I have written something action is equals to insert.php, it means it will be passed to the corresponding server side page. Next one, we were discussing about post and get. Like post would be the more secure when compared to get. Next one is an input tag. If I want to have a text, then we can write input type equal to text. If I want to display some number, input type equal to number. We cannot enter any kind of text, but make sure whenever you are writing input field, we should always mention name and ID. Name for the database thing and ID for the Java step. Next one is search. It will try to give us, as you can see here the visual representation, it will try to give us a search box. Next one is an email. Next one is a checkbox where we can select multiple options. Next one is a radio button. Like yesterday I have written name is equals to gender. Like when we are trying to perform, it was selecting two options. We need to write name here. Next one, password. If I want to get some bullet marks, the information should be hidden. Next one is a date. Date will have only date, month and year. When I write a date, time, local, you will get this big interface. When you will get some big interface, like for a complete date, month, year followed by time. Next one is a month. Next one is about week. Next one is time, week and time. So week will try to specify the particular week of a particular year, what we are trying to choose the date. Whereas time, based upon the system time, it will try to give the first one, or else we can manually choose. Next one is URL. If I'm trying to enter a small text, then it is trying to give us some alert, something, a message, please enter an URL. It means the URL should be formatted. Next one, input type equal to color. It will try to give us some pop-up box. When I click on it, we will try to get a color picker. Suppose by default it will get a black color. If I want to have any other color, then you can mention in value. We can mention in value. Next one is select. In select, we have select tag followed by select tag close. In these options, we can select any one of the option. Like we should able to choose it. But in the list, we have something called input list equals to course. Whatever we have written the course, the value name here, it should able to match with this ID. then only we will get this drop down with auto complete feature. It means when I type H here, then automatically what are the values which are matching with the letter H, it will try to display. Or else we can also select it. We can also type, or else we can also select it. Next one, hidden. For suppose if I want to hide an input field which has a common value like batch 21, then whatever the values which you are trying to fill, it will be stored in the database itself. But the values which are static, then we can use this input type equal to hidden. Next one is file. In order to upload some resumes, files, all these things we can use input type equal to file. Next one is button, and next one is submit. See, whenever we are trying to use button, it will allows us to perform a JavaScript. It will try to activate a JavaScript. If I want to perform some events, then we can make use of this input type equal to button. But for form submission, then we can use input type equal to submit. Next one is autocomplete. If suppose input field is there, the previously entered value should not be visible. I should not get some hints of previously entered user values in a particular input field. Then we can write autocomplete equal to off. Next one is max length. Max length will try to give the length of a particular word what we can enter in a input text field. Here 2 is written, so I can enter only 2 characters. Next one is size. Size indicates the width of a particular text field. Next one is value. Here the value is different and placeholder is different. Value we should able to give some backspace, in the sense we should able to, in order to erase it, we should need to give some backspace. Here in the placeholder, when I place my mouse over it, it will disable, like it will not able to visible. Placeholder will try to give us some hint for a user, like what to enter in a particular input field. Next one is a read only. Read only with the what are the values which has, like in the input field, if it has an attribute of read only, it means the value cannot be edited, like we cannot edit the value, we can just read it. Next one is range. Range can be used for the photo frames, like if I want to have some 0 to 100 values, then we can make use of this range. Next one is step. We can make use of the step, like if I want to have a linear increment. For example, if I have written step equal to 3, it means the value will start from 3, 6, 9 and 12. Next one, multiple. If I want to have a multiple selections, then we can use some attribute called multiple for the select. We can also use this multiple for files also. Next one, value and placeholder is done. Next one is required. If I want to make sure the user should able to fill the input field, until or unless the user fills the input field, it will not be submitted. Then we can write, I haven't written required here, you should able to write here required. Then we will get this box. Next one is min and max. Yesterday we have done min and max for the dates, like minimum date and maximum date. Here I have taken a range as min is equals to 20 and max is equals to 50. In the sense, the value should be between this range. Next one is a pattern. For example, in order to define this pattern in JavaScript, we have regular expressions. But in HTML5 we have this attribute called pattern, where we can represent this using a brackets followed by the character length, that is A to Z, small a to Z. It means the range will be from caps to small, like capital A to Z and small a to Z, where we can type only 3 letters. Between this range, we call this hyphen as delimiter between A to Z and small a to Z. Next one is opt group. For example, in a drop down list, if I want to combine I want to combine a group of options. If I want to combine a group of options, then we can use opt group in select. Next one, we have started with audio and video. Audio tag open and video tag close. But when I write it, we won't get any controls, like it will not be displayed. But when I write controls there, then we can get this pause, play, rewind and pause button. In this also we have few attributes. First one is controls, where it will try to list play, pause, rewind and all these options. Next one is preload. In the sense, when I write preload equals to none, it means when we have updated the video, it will not show the thumbnail of that particular image. Next one is a loop. Once the video has been stopped, it will try to play. Next one is auto. Like when page has been reloaded, then the video will automatically, we don't need to click on that control button, like in order to play it. Next one, today's part. First one is EM, emphasized, strong, small tag, strike, quotation, definition, abbreviation. Earlier we used to have some tags like italic and bold, but in the now we are trying to use EM and strong in order to give some semantic meaning. Next one is BDI. For example, if I want to have some text in a different format, then we can make use of this. We call it as bidirectional isolation. If we have any text such as Arabic or Hebrew, then we can make use of this tag. Next one is span tag. Span is an inline element. Whatever we are trying to write, it will try to display in a same line. It will not it will not give us a break. It will not give us a break. Next one is the WBR. WBR stands for word break opportunity. Like if I want to give a break for a particular word based upon the browser condition, then it will try to add into a new line break. Next one is a break. These tags would not be used, so I want to tell this like break and HR. Next one is H1 to H6. H1 has a larger heading size when compared to H6. Next one is bold and italic, what we have done. Next one is subscript and superscript. Next one is monospace and pre-formatted. Pre-formatted in the sense PRE, whereas monospace in the sense we have learned about KVD. The width of these letters like letter M and letter I. Next one we have discussed about block level and inline elements. Block level will try to display everything in a new line, whereas inline will try to display everything in a same line. It will not give us a break and it will try not occupy like new line. It will try to continue within the same width of a web page. Next one. In HTML we have some tags like we will try to discuss when we are trying to develop the layout of CSS here. We have some tags like apart from like title, body and all these things, we also have header, footer, article and section. If we write these tags, it will not be displayed, but when we are trying to design the layouts of a web page, then we will understand. Like header part, nav, we have discussed nav in the first session. Footer, article, section and aside. We call these elements as HTML5 semantic elements, or else we can call it as HTML5 document structure. We will try to implement this in the form of this example, like how we have done this layout here. We will try to do the same thing using CSS. Like in HTML, in the earlier part, we do in this way. Like we used to write some ordered list followed by some anchor tag. Again, we need to give some list type equal to none. We need to apply some properties for it. But in HTML, we enclose everything in a nav tag open and nav tag close. What are the links we are trying to put? We will enclose between nav tag open and nav tag close. Next one, HTML URL. So what is this use of URL? For example, see here, when you are trying to save the file, you will give some spaces here. Like you will save the file as web space app.html. Then when we are trying to open the output in the browser, in the URL part, it will try to display some character like this, like hash of percentage of 20. It will not display only percentage of 20. It will try to display the different characters. It means it will try to encode. It means it will try to remove those white space which has been done by the user. Like whatever we are trying to save, it will try to remove the space and it will try to form in a new particular word, and it will try to display in the browser. Even if you have saved with some spaces also, the HTML will try to encode, and we call this one as encode URL. Here it will not give us some errors, but whenever you are trying to include in the web pages, it will not display sometimes. Like if you have not given some space and if we have mentioned some space in somewhere else. Next one, we have started with canvas. In order to draw this canvas, we use JavaScript, some boxes, text, images and lines. We have started with canvas tag open. In this we have three attributes: ID, width and height. In order to implement this, we need to use script tag followed by script tag close followed by where canvas equals to like document.getElement by ID. It means it will try to read this particular element. The name what we have written here, it will to match here also. Get context all the methods and properties in order to implement a particular shape. Here I am trying to use some rectangle, so I am trying to use these two methods. We can also browse. We will have so many methods, but I am trying to use fill style and fill rect. Fill style try to fill the correct shape, and fill rect will have first one 10, 10, 60 and 80. It means followed by x-axis, y-axis, width and height. So whenever you are trying to give width and height, make sure that this width and height is more than compared to this here, so that the whatever the shape we got just now, like we have given very less size. So what happened? It was not displayed properly. So you need to give more size when compared to the height and width what we have mentioned here. In this we have get element by id, next one is get context, and the shape which we want to fill. So these two lines will be the common for representing, for drawing any shape. Based upon the methods what you use from the third line, it will vary. X for x-axis, y, width and height. Next one SVG. Suppose if I want to draw some shape using this SVG, we can just write SVG tag open, SVG tag close. In this we have some height and width, followed by x and y, in the sense the x-axis and y-axis, width and height of a shape. Style indicates the, we can say the style as an inline CSS. Like style filled orange, the color will be in the form of for the particular shape. Stroke, the color of that particular border, and stroke width, the width of that particular stroke. So here we have based upon x and y. So the difference is it is pixel based, it is shape based, where we can save this in the format of PNG. It can be implemented using script tag, whereas it can be also be implemented using script and CSS. Here it is based on x and y, like here it is based on rect and path. If I want to give for the large number of objects, then we can make use of canvas or else SVG. Next thing, we have started learning about web storage. We can't say replacement, but in order to have this in browser, we have multiple storage mechanisms. In the same way, we can also say web storage is the one mechanism where we can store the data in the browser. So here we have two things. First one is the session storage, and next one is the local storage. Session storage will be based upon the page session itself. Once it has been closed, we cannot see that. But with local storage, will try to persist even when the browser is closed. In this, we have first one set item, next one is get item, set item and get item. Next one is delete. In order to delete an item, we use remove item, a particular item, or else we can clear it completely using clear, like local storage.clear. Next one, we were trying to write the code, like what happens here. First, it indicates script tag open and script tag close. Always we need to mention after body tag, because once the DOM has been loaded, then we need to write the script part. Here, if type of storage is undefined, like based upon the value, it will try to store the value, or else it will try to give us in the pop-up box saying that this browser doesn't support. Here it is a bracket, not equals to. It will try to store the values in the form of a key and value here in this format. Next one, in order to retry, we can write local storage dot the particular key. In order to delete, we can write local storage dot clear. We will try to implement an application based upon this local storage, web storage concepts also. Based upon this examples of like HTML5 semantic elements, local storage, we will try to solve more questions. For semantic elements, we will try to implement using CSS, and for this local storage, we will try to implement using JavaScript. And we have some more things called like geolocation is also left, like which will cover in JavaScript part. So the assignment for today would be like create a resume into a web page. Whatever the resume you have, just try to create in the form of a web page in the HTML format. Use only HTML, don't use any part of CSS. Next one, you can just go through these questions like day 1, day 2 and day 3. If you have any queries, you can just drop us, like you can just ping us. If you have any queries, you can just ask in chat. If you have any queries, you can just ask in chat. Like as is the end session of the HTML, you can just ask questions on this. Based upon the sessions, you can ask. So make sure that every day, like day 1, day 2, day 2 and day 3, work on those assignments and create a folder as day 1, day 2 and day 3. And you can also check the piece of questions, like what we have written. You can just go through the questions, as well as you need to do that first assignment, second assignment, third assignment. Like by Monday you can just submit your resume, and please come up with some project idea which you want to implement. Like whatever you want to implement, you just come up with some idea. And when we are trying to work on CSS, I will try to share you some 10 to 20 templates, like you which has been done only using CSS. So if you have any queries, you can just ask in the chat. So if you have any, okay. Anand is asking like, what is the difference between Git and GitHub? See, Git is mainly a software like which we want to install, whereas GitHub is nothing but a hosting space, like hosting repository for this Git. Like if I want to store some files, then we can make use of it. Yes, Durga, we can use Ajax and HTML. Like we can use any of the combination. If I want to make sure that page should not reload, then we can make use of this Ajax. Okay. How to place HTML tag in TD? HTML tag in TD. Anil, like what is the thing you want to implement? You can just type the code in the queries part. Like I have shared you the link. You just paste your code there. I will try to revert. You want to paste the complete HTML in TD. Yes, sir. Git is console now. Please explain. Git is, see, Git is not a we are working on the console part, so we can call it as a command prompt. See, we have the same tags like strike and delete will try to perform the same thing. If you have any queries, you can just ask. See, Durga, if you are aware of basics of JavaScript, then you can implement the Ajax code, like basics, the thing. Upendra, thank you. Bhavya Sri, like Bhavya, if canvas can be used in order to draw some shapes. Like if I want to draw some hut, if I want to draw some line, if I want to draw some circle, then we can make use of this canvas. We have some predefined methods for it. We can check the official documentation. Harshini, we can make use of CSS. Akhilesh, what is this? Again web. Could you please elaborate? Manikanda, canvas can be used in order to draw some shapes using JavaScript. You can make use of JavaScript, then you can implement some shapes like square, rectangle, circle, whatever the shapes you want to draw. It has some predefined methods. Based upon those predefined methods, we can make any of the shape. Like I have made some simple rectangle for this session, like for the beginners. See, local storage will store only limited data. How the local storage will store it? See, it is based upon key and values, Narendra. See, if you can check the complete assignments, questions, and everything here. Explain the difference between canvas and SVG. See, SVG and canvas, if I want to have some complicated shapes, if I want to draw some large objects, then we can make use of canvas. So if you can see my screen, you will find this. So this is main difference, like what we have discussed. If you have any queries, you can just put it down till 6:30. What is the use of see? Also don't have as HR and break also we don't have this thing, but we won't use this duplicated tags when you are trying to create a responsive web pages. This will not be used. Why script tag should be written after the body tag? Mahesh, we should write script tag after the body tag because once the HTML DOM has been loaded, then we should make use of this script tag. Can we bring dots in the unordered list to center? Yes, we can use using CSS. Aparo, I will try to check this link, like your GitHub link. If you have any queries, you can just put it down. And make sure that by Monday, like Monday, you can do some resume like using this HTML. Yes, as tomorrow is Sunday, we won't have any session like Monday to Saturday. You can just upload in your GitHub. You can just upload every assignments with a day name, like day 1, day 2, day 3, 30 days, 30 folders, 30 repositories in your GitHub. You can just put in your GitHub. We will try to evaluate it. See, if you have any queries, you can just put. So make sure that you will do that assignments, then you can understand the complete basics of HTML so that we can start CSS from Monday. And from CSS, I will try to give you like assignment, interview questions, layouts. I will try to give you at least 5 to 10 layouts. No, tomorrow is Sunday, right? We don't have any session. If you have any more queries, you can just put in the comment. So will you explain Bootstrap? Harshini, we will be working on HTML, CSS, JavaScript and React. HTML, CSS, JavaScript and React. If you are listening in any other platform also, please do ask questions. I will just go through it, and by Monday, like when the session starts, at the beginning of session, I will try to discuss the questions. Like I haven't kept some questions, right? So yesterday, someone has asked me these questions. Like someone asked me like day 2, like yesterday's question, sir, what is the app to install and upload the files in Git? So this is a question asked by someone. And how can I install in Windows and Ubuntu? So this is the answer. Like you can just go through it. And could you please update the day 2 link? See, whatever the files I'm trying to do, it will be in my GitHub profile. You can just download and make reuse of it. Cherko, like if you can do it, it would be fine. Like you will get some practice. Make sure that you will do some project, Amarnath. Just implement some application based on the concepts you have learned. You can just come up with some ideas to us. We will try to help you out in it. Rajshekar, I will try to check this layout, the assignment. Yes, I will try to update third day link also. One second. If you have any queries, you can just put in the chat. I will just go through it. Third day link is also updated in Git. You can just go through it. Here you will find the complete questions, interview questions, assignments and everything. You can just go through this link and you can submit your assignments in Git. What is this, Anil? You want to place? Okay, you can just use what is this HTML entities for it. Use HTML entities. Like you can just write and of like this. Anil Kumar, you can just answer it like this. So tomorrow there is no session. Like from Monday again we'll have Monday to Saturday. Lalish, it is done. Again we will try to meet on Monday. If you have any queries, you can just post in this. I will try to answer on Monday. Thank you everyone.